Once upon a time there was a magical world. It was full of amazing creatures. Fairies flew with sparkly wings. Giants walked with steps that shook the ground. Tiny people lived in mushroom houses, and dragons soared through the sky with fiery breath. They all lived together. It was a happy time. They shared their magic with each other. The fairies brought the flowers to bloom. The giants used their strength to move mountains. The tiny people made delicious honey, and the dragons kept the land warm with their fire. It was a perfect balance. Everyone got along. It was a time of peace and wonder. But one day everything changed. A terrible war started, shaking the very foundations of their world. The creatures couldn't agree anymore. Their once harmonious existence was shattered by disagreements and mistrust. They fought over the magic, each believing they had the right to control it. The fairies wanted the magic of nature, hoping to nurture the forests and bring life to the land. The giants wanted the magic of water, dreaming of controlling the rivers and seas to sustain their strength. The tiny people wanted the magic of air, desiring to command the winds and soar through the skies. And the dragons wanted the magic of fire, seeking to harness its destructive and transformative power. The war was long and scary, with battles raging day and night, leaving no corner of their world untouched. It broke the world apart, leaving it in ruins and despair. The magical world was separated, with each group retreating to their own isolated realms. The fairies were trapped in the Night Howl Forest, a place of shadows and whispers. The giants were sent to the Mountain of Whispers, where the winds carried secrets of old. The tiny people were banished to the Whispering Meadows, a land of endless winds and echoes, and the dragons were confined to the Valley of Fire, surrounded by molten lava and perpetual flames. The magic was divided too, split into 4 powerful stones. Each group got a magical stone, a fragment of the world's former unity. The fairies got the nature stone, a symbol of their connection to the earth. The giants got the water stone, embodying their strength and resilience. The tiny people got the air stone, representing their freedom and agility. And the dragons kept the fire stone, a testament to their fierce and fiery nature. The stones were very powerful, each holding immense energy and potential. They held the key to restoring balance, a hope for a future where harmony could be restored. But the creatures were too angry to see that, blinded by their rage and desire for power. Many years later, 2 sisters lived in a small village. This village was nestled in a valley surrounded by lush green hills and a sparkling river that flowed gently by. Their names were Irene and Leah. They were not just sisters, but also the best of friends, inseparable since birth. They loved to play outside, exploring every nook and cranny of their little world. One sunny afternoon, they were playing in their backyard, the sun casting a golden glow over everything. They were digging a hole for their secret clubhouse, a place where they could share their dreams and stories.
"What's that?" Irene exclaimed, her eyes wide with curiosity.
They both dug with their hands, their excitement growing with each handful of dirt they removed. They pulled out a dusty old box. They opened it carefully, their hearts pounding with anticipation. Inside was a rolled-up piece of parchment. It was a map. It looked very old, with edges frayed and worn, but the colors were still bright, as if the map had been waiting for them all these years. It showed strange lands and creatures, places they had never seen or heard of before.
"This looks like an adventure," Leah said, her voice filled with excitement.
As they unfurled the map further, they saw strange symbols. They glowed faintly, casting a mysterious light. The sisters felt a warmth spread through them, a sense of destiny calling them. They knew this was no ordinary map. It was something special, something magical. This was a magical map. It seemed to pulse with energy, as if alive. It was a call for a quest, a journey that would take them beyond their wildest dreams. The map led to different places. The first place was the Night Howl Forest. The sisters were scared but also excited. They knew they had to start their quest. They packed some food and water. They grabbed their trusty magnifying glass. They set off into the forest. The Night Howl Forest was dark and scary. The trees were tall and thick. Strange noises came from the shadows. Irene and Leah held each other's hands tightly. They were determined to be brave. They followed the map deeper into the forest. They knew they had to find the fairies. The sisters walked for a long time. The forest seemed to get darker and colder. They heard a soft cry coming from behind a giant oak tree. They carefully peeked around the trunk. They saw a tiny figure with shimmering wings. It was a fairy.
Please help me. The evil thorns are holding me captive. I cannot escape.
Don't worry, we'll get you out.
But who trapped you?
It was the darkness that came with the war. It has spread throughout the forest, trapping us all.
Irene and Leah exchanged a determined look. They knew they had to do more than just free this one fairy. They had to help them all. Irene and Leah looked at the thorny cage, their eyes filled with determination and curiosity. The cage was unlike anything they had ever seen before, with thick, twisted thorns that seemed almost alive. They needed to find a way to break it. The barrier was strong, and they knew it would take more than just brute force to overcome it. They brainstormed, thinking of all the tools and tricks they had learned in their adventures. Leah remembered their magnifying glass, a tool they had used many times to start fires and examine tiny details. It was a long shot, but it was their best idea.
Irene, quick, the magnifying glass. Leah's voice was urgent, filled with hope and a sense of impending success.
Irene held the magnifying glass up to the thorns, her hands steady despite the excitement bubbling inside her. She angled it just right to catch the sunlight. The sunlight focused on the thorns, creating a small but intense beam of light. It was a delicate process, requiring patience and precision. The thorns started to smoke and sizzle, the heat from the concentrated sunlight causing them to wither and burn. The smell of burning wood filled the air. Soon, the thorns turned to ash, and the cage disappeared. The fairy was free! She emerged from the remnants of the cage, her wings shimmering in the sunlight.
Thank you so much. Her voice was melodic and filled with gratitude, echoing through the forest.
She flew around their heads, showering them with fairy dust. The dust sparkled in the air, creating a magical atmosphere that made everything feel surreal.
You have a kind heart. The fairy's words were sincere, and they touched Irene and Leah deeply. For freeing me, I will give you this. She held out a small glowing stone, its light pulsating gently.
The fairy gave them a small glowing stone. It was warm to the touch and seemed to hum with energy. It was the nature stone, a powerful artifact they had heard about in legends, said to have the ability to heal and protect the forest. As soon as they touched it, they felt a surge of warmth and energy. It was as if the stone was alive, sharing its power with them. It felt like the forest itself was welcoming them, the trees and plants glowing with a renewed vitality.
The forest is safe again. The fairy's voice was filled with relief and joy. You have brought back the light. The sunlight seemed brighter, the air fresher, and the entire forest more vibrant.
Irene and Leah smiled at each other, their hearts filled with pride and happiness. They had achieved something incredible together. They had completed the first part of their quest. There were more challenges ahead, but for now, they celebrated their victory, knowing they had the strength and courage to face whatever came next. The map now pointed to two different places, the Whispering Meadows and the Mountain of Whispers.
That must be where the tiny people and the giants are.
The sisters decided to go to the Whispering Meadows first. They walked for days. They finally reached a field of wildflowers. In the middle of the field was a village of tiny mushroom houses. A group of tiny people emerged from their houses. They were no bigger than Irene and Leah's thumbs.
Who are you?
We're Irene and Leah. We're here to help.
The tiny people looked sad.
Our crops won't grow. The air is too thick.
Irene and Leah felt sorry for them. They knew they had to help them. Irene and Leah looked around the Whispering Meadows. Everything looked dry and lifeless.
We need something to help the plants grow.
They remembered a legend about a magical seed kept by the giants. This seed had the power to bring life to even the barrenest land.
We need to go to the Mountain of Whispers.
The journey to the Mountain of Whispers was long and tiring. They finally reached a cave hidden behind a waterfall. Inside, they found a giant sleeping soundly. They carefully woke him up and told him about the tiny people's plight. The giant was moved by their story. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a tiny, shimmering seed.
This is the seed of hope. Plant this in the Whispering Meadows and life will bloom again.
Irene and Leah thanked the giant and rushed back to the Whispering Meadows. They carefully planted the seed in the middle of the field. Almost immediately, something magical happened. A tiny sprout emerged from the ground. It grew rapidly, turning into a giant sunflower taller than the tallest trees. Its leaves unfurled, releasing fresh, clean air into the atmosphere. The giant sunflower's petals shimmered in the sunlight, attracting rain clouds. The rain poured down, nourishing the dry land. The tiny people cheered as their crops began to grow again. They gave Irene and Leah 2 more glowing stones, the air stone and the water stone.
We now have 3 of the 4 magical stones.
Irene and Leah were overjoyed. The world was one step closer to being whole again. Irene and Leah looked at their map. Only one place remained, the Valley of Fire. That's where the dragons lived. They knew it would be the most dangerous part of their quest, but they were determined to reunite all the creatures and bring back balance to the world.
The dragons won't just hand over the Firestone. We have to think of a way to approach them peacefully.
They had to earn their trust and prove they were worthy of wielding the stone's power. They packed their bags, ready to face the heat of the Valley of Fire and the might of the dragons. Irene and Leah set off on their final journey, their hearts filled with hope. They had faced many challenges and made many new friends. They had learned the true meaning of courage, kindness, and the importance of working together. They carried the weight of the world on their shoulders, but they also carried the light of the magical stones.
The fate of the mythical creatures and the future of our world rests in our hands.
They were ready to face whatever lay ahead in the Valley of Fire. Their adventure was far from over. It was only just beginning.